Mefloquine Rally. It's the 5th Canadian Veterans Mefloquine Rally. So just a few ground rules, mostly because we're dealing with a pandemic era. Right, keep the sidewalks clear to allow passers-by. The city has asked us that we maintain COVID restrictions. Not complying regardless of how we feel will result in the city shutting down the rallies. Rallies have a policy of not calling out speakers, shouting in anger or ignorant behavior. Keep it about Mefloquine and keep it civil. This rally is to promote the following: reopening the Somalia affair, asking the Canadian government for acknowledgement of the damage done to the people who were ordered to take this drug, which began 29 years ago this November. Government-funded research to find a cure or ways to manage the health and mental damage done to our veterans. And finally, the mass tort lawsuit and where we're at on that. So I'd like to bring up Richard Delve. Richard was the primary organizer this year. I wasn't available because I had too much on my plate. So this baby happening this year is all him. So I just want to thank you for that and let you hear his words of wisdom. Richard, come on up here.
I know. Can you get any more Canadian than that? A hockey flag with flag on? Yeah, at any time you can step up to the plate. What do you mean?
I brought those 2 years ago to Ottawa.
I'm not being. I love it. Okay. Two freaking most Canadian things in the world.
Here's the this whole thing was started by Marge Matchey 5 years ago. Actually, more than 5 years ago. But 5 years ago was the first rally in Ottawa that she had. They're running theirs in the big one in Saskatoon this year. But Marge sent this along. This is her speech, so I'm going to read it verbatim. This will be her speech that she does today. It says, "Welcome everyone to the 5th Annual Veterans Mefloquine Rally."
Can't hear.
Can't hear?
They come closer.
Come on in.
They come closer.
We don't bite.
I like this sometimes.
Right?
So welcome everyone to the 5th Annual Veterans Mefloquine Rally. I can't help but think how fitting that we should be here in Saskatoon, or here in Kingston, because really this is where the idea was brought to life. In January of 2017, myself and Dave Bona spent the entire day trying to get to see Prime Minister Trudeau. Dave arrived early in the morning, was informed that only university students would be able to see the Prime Minister and ask questions. Dave went right to the powers that be, and 100 seats were made available to the public. I got here at 10:30 that morning, and Dave was at the front of the line inside the university. After waiting for hours, the Prime Minister's security made us all go outside and wait so the PM could be brought in safely. We continued to wait 4 more hours in January. People were literally numb from the cold. Once inside, we were sent to the farthest spot we could go, even though we were in the front of the line. At that point, Dave stood up, all 6'4" of him, clearly a veteran in his burgundy beret, an airborne cap badge, and medals on his chest. Dave stood at attention in front of Trudeau, and Justin Trudeau ignored him. For 20 minutes he asked questions all around Dave, continuing to ignore him. Finally, Dave sat down, never acknowledged by our PM, on his so-called listening tour. All that time we waited to see the PM was for nothing. I was beyond angry. It was at that time I decided we needed to head for Ottawa, to stand on the steps of Parliament Hill and start telling the truth to all that would listen. We managed some good media coverage, but realized that it would be gone in a week and we needed to do more to keep the momentum going. We have come a long way since then, and I know it doesn't seem like it sometimes, but this is my 29th year of advocating this, and I can say that I have seen the traction we have gained. Veterans, you will be in court soon, and this leads me to the main point that I would like to make this year. How important it will be for you all to show a united front. Now is the time to start focusing on the upcoming mass tort. This opportunity may never present itself again, and everyone will need to stand strong together and show the government, hell, show the world that we are a force, that you will have your day in court, that you will be heard. This past couple of years have been stressful for us all, and more so for some with health issues or in isolation. It is now more than ever we need to reach out and renew our bonds, strengthen our Mefloquine community so that we can face the upcoming courts and learn how to manage health issues for Mefloquine together so you are not alone. I want to encourage you all to strengthen your resolve once again, stand shoulder to shoulder. You are a military Mefloquine family, and as families, we may not always agree, and that's okay, but you are still family. We are in a community, and we are global now. One thing I know for certain is that you are warriors. I know that you will be standing strong when the court case starts, because warriors don't run away from the fight, they run into it. I pray you leave here today feeling stronger and renewed in our faith in each other and this Mefloquine family. If you have just found us today, please let us help you put the tools in your toolbox that will help you manage your health issues. You are not alone. We are all in this together. Remember, there is power in numbers. That's Marge's speech that she will be giving probably in the next hour in Saskatoon in theirs. So now we'll go back to Stephen, and he will be doing his speech.
So just, I realize not everyone's going to know who I am, so I'll just very briefly, I was one of the original deployed members of the Canadian Airborne Regiment into Somalia, but I was also the pharmacy rep for the regiment, which means I handled ordering all the prescription medications, all except for one, which was Mefloquine. So we've been at this for, well, like I said earlier, 29 years this November. So I've written this down because I want to make it very clear. So I'm just going to read directly and not ad lib. The refusal of Health Canada, the Department of National Defence, the Canadian Forces and Veterans Affairs to use or to insist on screening for Criterion H in the DSM, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, which allows a diagnosis of PTSD for drug interactions, as in the case of Mefloquine and similar medications, is the catalyst for multiple traumas pre- and post-release for veterans. What this means is treating drug interactions such as Mefloquine and other like medications with drugs intended for PTSD causes further serious mental health issues, causing incarceration, deeper psychiatric problems, and suicides. Mefloquine breaches the blood-brain barrier and remains in the system with a half-life of 40 years. It then interacts with those drugs which carry warnings not to use quinoline-based drugs such as Mefloquine with them. It is these drugs interactions which are inflating the mental health and suicide problems in the veteran community. The solution for this begins with these government bodies doing a geographical survey on veterans and acknowledging the scope of the problems, as it has repeatedly been requested and promised since the mid-1990s. Compounding trauma by improper diagnosis and treatment then leads, my apologies, I just touch phones. Compounding trauma by improper diagnosis and treatment then leads to the next major obstacle leading to suicides, the release process. When veterans are released, a release medical category is assigned. Those that are being medically released have had years of problems, and there are usually comprehensive files on their injuries. Despite this, they must apply for and prove their injuries to Veterans Affairs to get a pension. As a result, it takes years to get a full and proper medical pension, as most require appeals to get their full benefits. The release medical should be assigned, or should assign, the degree of disability, and the medical pension should be automatic for medically released veterans based on the release medical. In addition, non-medical releases should be screened for injuries, and CF98 should be added upon release for any injury with potential to become a problem down the road, so that a medical pension is easier to be awarded if warranted. not having pensions, resources, or proper medical treatment results in veterans with mental health issues that call in for mental health checks. And as many Mefloquine veterans know firsthand, they are then greeted by force by police, and when they react to the police presence, they are tasered, arrested, and imprisoned for having mental health issues. They then face escalation of legal fees, court challenges, and deeper mental health issues. We need to demand that qualified medical staff respond to these calls in addition to police to de-escalate the problem and treat it as a medical condition it is, quinism. And that, folks, is the name of methylene poisoning, is quinism. Lastly, these same veterans, without resources, proper medical treatment, pensions, and diagnosis with mental health issues, take up battering in the courts over child custody and access. Often what they say in confidence in a therapy session is then used against them in court. Not only does it violate their rights to privacy and confidentiality, it enters public record. It also alienates the children from their parents. With proper resources, pension, and diagnosis in place, hopefully our families who have suffered enough from our service will never reach this stage of abuse through the family court systems. As a community, we must end divisions and lone wolf approaches to advocacy. We have always served best by serving each other in regimental units. It's time to return to our roots. Lisa Pym, who's a registered practitioner, clinical care committee member, and past director of clinical care for Veterans House Charity, recently compiled a letter referencing Mefloquine symptoms, which are not mental health issues. This letter is accompanied by a chapter of Dr. Remington Nethin's book on quinism, and I'm happy to say that this letter is having a positive impact. I personally now have 3 specialists researching Mefloquine and comparing their findings to my symptoms, not to mention commenting on how their findings in my case match perfectly what they are reading in the research. The long-awaited tide is turning, and we must take advantage of it, and be united in one voice. Yeah, I got this. This part burns my boils. I recently learned that Lieutenant Colonel Tepper was the signature of the safety study that was shelved in October of 1992, somewhere between the 6th of October and the 9th of October, and that a Dr. Segnor, who was an infectious disease specialist in Ottawa, was conducting the study. Isn't it time to call these 2 out and hold them accountable? And by the way, incidentally, Dr. Raphael Segnor chaired the Infectious Disease Ethics Board in Ottawa in 2017. Right? Is this the same man? I'm not sure, but if it is, should he be chairing an ethics board when he's remained silent on Mefloquine for 29 years? Wouldn't both these men have first-hand knowledge of what transpired in the month of October of 1992? Why should they remain incognito when so many of us suffer publicly in the courts and in treatment rooms? I believe asking these men about their first-hand knowledge in public is where we need to focus our next steps. Should any of you have an opportunity to be interviewed by the media, an open question calling these 2 out on their knowledge in silence without threats, but rather with a calm voice, could advance our cause significantly. One key skill that I have learned as an angry man with mental health issues is to pose it as a question. My anger still shows through, but it doesn't overshadow the real issue. And remember, our enemies love to discount our words of those mentally ill people so they can thank us for our service and then move on without action. Thanks. Rich, I'll let you introduce the next one. What do you want me to do? Use the next person? Just introduce the next person. Make it Kelly. We don't like him anyways. Okay.
You love me, baby.
What letter are you reading?
I got Paul Miller's.
At this point, we're going to have Kelly come up and read the letter from Paul Miller, who is one of the lead lawyers in the mass tort against the government.
Morning, everyone. I think it's morning. Let me start by saying I do apologize for not being able to attend this year's rally. COVID continues to be a difficult issue for all of us to navigate. I do hope that when the next rally is held, I will have no issue attending in person. The council team continues to work on this matter on a daily basis. In the last few months of our push to get clients, we have had over 1,000 possible clients reach out to us. It is taking some time to process everyone and get the new claim ready to be issued in the court. As we are now facing an election on Monday, hopefully whoever forms the new government, there is a willingness to do the right thing and sit down and talk rather than engaging in delay tactics. Unfortunately, a defendant does have the right to bring their emotions, and we will fight every single one of them, and we will continue to fight. We will continue to fight for everyone of you that has been impacted by Mefloquine. I can assure everyone in the crowd that we have every intention of fighting the government until we are able to achieve the appropriate result through settlement or trial. Both John and I are totally committed to this case and will continue to fight for all of you as we go forward. I know this has been a very slow process, and it may continue to be slow in the near future. But please do not mistake the speed as a lack of interest on our part. We are doing everything we can in order to be able to move the case as quickly as possible. Once we have everything aligned the way it should be for the court, everyone stay healthy and safe. Hopefully we'll see them. Hopefully we will see okay, that's his fault, not mine. We will see some significant improvement in the next 6 to 12 months. He put seam. One M too many.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Yeah, obviously Paul needs to learn how to write. Maybe add one of his assistants.
He's a lawyer.
Okay, next up we're going to have Tim, and he's going to read the letter from Dr. Remington Nevin.
Hello, my name is Tim Rally. I'm reading a letter from Dr. Remington Nevin. Friends, I am very sorry that events make me unable to join you for this year's rally. While much attention has been focused on the recent unpleasantness these past years, rest assured that work continues in the fight against Mefloquine and other quinoline antimalarials, and that much progress continues to be made. Last year, the public learned of the dangers of hydroxychloroquine, chloroquine, and other quinoline drugs. And international travel essentially stopped. The demand for new quinoline drugs and antimalarials has all but disappeared. The wars of the past 2 decades, which led to Mefloquine being resurrected for widespread military use in the early 2000s, are now decidedly over, and the drug has been pushed far to the back of the medicine cabinet, never to be used by the militaries again. The medical technology spurred by recent events may finally see the development of a malaria vaccine and an end to the use of the quinoline drugs altogether. Meanwhile, hundreds of legal cases related to the international and military use of Mefloquine are slowly but steadily advancing in Ireland, the UK, the US, and here in Canada. The future is promising, and I have every confidence in our success. Thank you for your commitment and for your continued support of our efforts. Sincerely, Remington Nevin, MD, MPH, Dr. PH. And my name is Tim Rattlin. I'm going to speak for a bit. My first time speaking at one of these events, my second Mefloquine Rally. My name is Tim. I was in Somalia with the Airborne Regiment, Canadian Airborne Regiment in December 92 to June 93. And almost immediately upon my return, I had some significant incidents within myself, within my family, and basically a train wreck. I'll just keep it short and simple. Happened then and carried on for another 25 plus years. It wasn't until a few years ago I found out I wasn't alone. I've been isolated for the last 20 years from the military community, veteran community, and I found there's thousands more like myself, different circumstances, and that's huge. And yeah, it needs to be addressed and dealt with. And I was discarded very quickly, no care for myself. When I got released, and recently got Veterans Affairs, I'm just getting a token amount, and I know I'm entitled for more, at least recognition. So I love the brotherhood.
Thank you, Tim. Our next letter is going to be read by Val, and it's going to be a letter from Katrina, who is from the perspective of a spouse, caregiver, and family member of a Mefloquine survivor.
Good afternoon. I'm reading this on behalf of Katrina Jenkins, who is the wife of a veteran who was changed by Mefloquine in Afghanistan in 2009. She wants to thank Marge for her persistence, dedication, and relentlessness. She is the driving force behind the Mefloquine advocacy, the rally, and the reason I continue to share about the impact of this drug. I am a better wife, caregiver, and mother because of Marge. Please know that my heart is at the rally today. I support the rally and everything it stands for, but I had a wedding to partake of in Newfoundland, so I'm looking forward to hugging you all in person next year. Probably not here. Today I want to speak directly to the people who love someone who has been forever changed by Mefloquine. There are countless partners, parents, and friends who need us to keep sharing about Mefloquine in order to help bring them into this community. I want you to take a moment and visualize the thousands upon thousands of people who don't know that quinism exists. I want you to know that no act in sharing about quinism is too small. Every time you talk about Mefloquine, you are spreading awareness and hope. You are increasing your reach and making this whole movement stronger. I am begging each and every one of you who comes across this speech to do one thing: to spread awareness about what Mefloquine is, what quinism is, how it has impacted you, and what it's like to love someone who has been affected by quinism in any way. After today, share and interact with posts on social media. Talk to your medical professionals and share the Dear Doctor letter. Share the little blue chart. Every like and share not only gives hope and encouragement to those who are trying to raise awareness, but it also increases the chance that we will reach someone that needs us. I challenge you to educate 5 people on quinism and then challenge them to do the same. No one should suffer alone, regardless of whether they took the drug or support someone who did. When I found out about Mefloquine, it was like finding a missing puzzle piece that I didn't know I was looking for. This puzzle piece comes with a community. This community is like family, and like families, we all have our differences, and at the end of the day, love is stronger. As a community, we need to find people who are fighting this alone. Love is louder. We need to continue to search for the people who don't know yet that some of the insurmountable obstacles they face are because of this drug. The Mefloquine community is capable of supporting and encouraging and healing. This healing can save lives. Our community can change the course of marriage, support a veteran or a world traveler while they get better treatment, and increase the quality of lives for the children who love someone who took Mefloquine. Let's get louder. Let's love a little more. It's time to heal.
Thanks, Val, for reading that letter from Katrina. Our next letter is going to be read by Clayton. and he's going to read the letter from John Broussard, who is the Shadow Minister for Veterans Affairs. I'd actually gone through channels to try and get him to be here today, and he was very receptive to that fact until the election was called, and then obviously because of the situation, he cannot be here. But he did send along a note, and Clayton's going to read that now.
John Broussard says here, please excuse my absence to here in Kingston. I am home in the riding of Barrie Innsfield and working hard to seek re-election and to be part of the Conservative government under Aaron O'Toole. I have met or spoken to many victims of the use of Mefloquine. That you are here today marks your continued fight to have some recognition to the harm that is used to veterans and their families. I have heard testimony that the standing committees of Veterans Affairs of hardships dealing with the medication, the therapy, the after effects of Mefloquine. I'll say it again, after effects of Mefloquine. The testimony was harsh enough, and that all members of the committee agreed to send a letter to the Minister of Health to have Mefloquine studied. And through this study, the government might possibly recognize its duty to properly care for our veterans and support the families of these Mefloquine veterans. There has been no response received from the Minister of Health to this letter. Having spoken to many of you, I heard of the needs of families that suffer along with the veterans, the spouse, the children, parents, brothers, sisters, all live through the silence, the anger, and the loneliness that Mefloquine brings. While allies have taken steps to help their veterans, the Canadian government needs to take greater steps and lead the crusade for better diagnosis and treatment. The fact that the members of all parties of the Standing Committee on Veterans Affairs are united on this issue highlights the importance of the action Veterans Affairs Canada with Health Canada must take. I encourage you to keep your voice loud and to work with the government after this election to get it done. Sincerely, John Broussard, Shadow Minister of Veterans Affairs. And I have something to say too. I spoke last year, this time it'll be a little shorter, but Mefloquine Awareness and Mars Mache, he saved my life. And in fact, some of the stuff that John Broussard had in his letters exactly, it's the after effects of this, right? And the loneliness and the anger and all that stuff that I put my family through. And but I'm proud to be part of this, and I lean on the brotherhood too. Thank you.
Thank you, Clayton. That was great. Next, we're going to have Marla come up.
Yep.
And she's going to read the letter from Dr. Keith Zuwiski, and I know I'm butchering that name, but it's tough. So, anyways, she's going to read his letter. He's been leading in the Loretta neurofeedback for treatment of Mefloquine and the brain injuries.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay, my name's Marla, I'm Tim's wife, and I just want to thank all of you that are veterans for your service. Know that it's very appreciated by those of us that are not in the military and never were. I'm super proud of my husband and all the steps he's done to make himself a better person. And yeah, it's hard when a drug's in your system and you don't know what's causing issues. So I'm just proud of you all for taking this stand and doing this mass tour. So this letter is from psychologist Dr. Keith Zuwiski from Edmonton. Thank you for the opportunity to pass on a greeting and some information at the rally. I regret that I am unable to attend. To all the military, veterans, and civilians dealing with the long-term after effects of Mefloquine toxicity, many of you have tried medication and psychological counseling, but it didn't help enough. I want to pass on a message of hope that there are some treatments for anger, anxiety, depression, hypervigilance, etc., that do not involve medication or talk therapy. These treatments will not be offered to you. You will have to seek them out on your own. The key terms to look for are neurofeedback and neuromodulation. Usually these treatments are provided by specially trained psychologists or psychiatrists. Neurofeedback involves measuring brain activity with one or more sensors on the head. Computerized software monitors the activity and provides feedback and rewards when the brain function improves. With repeated practice changing the brain activity, the brain learns these changes and functions more normally. There are many different types of neurofeedback, including Loretta neurofeedback. If one type does not work, seek out another one. Neuromodulation involves safe and very low doses of electrical current, magnetic fields, or pulses of infrared light pass through the scalp to quiet down or wake up specific locations in the brain. For example, in depression, it is usually the left front of the brain that is weak and cannot keep the emotional system under control. There is good research showing that treating the left front of the brain reduces depression. I have seen many clients significantly benefit from this treatment. There are also a few psychiatrists in hospitals and private clinics that are using transcranial magnetic stimulation to treat the brain without medication. If you already have a psychologist for counseling, you might not have to stop seeing them to get neurofeedback treatment. You may be approved to get treatment from both psychologists. There are many exciting new treatments being developed and tested. Stay strong, hopeful, and don't give up. Dr. Keith Zukowiski.
Thank you, Marla, for reading that. That was that's very good. It's nice to hear from Dr. Keith. I know he's made lots of strides in this, and reading some of the posts from Dave Bona, who's been doing this therapy, it has helped him immensely. I'm going to give a short little thing here. Most of this Mefloquine stuff is featured on, or is focused on the Somali veterans and what was done over there with the purported clinical trials and stuff that were abandoned, and the injustice that was done to the airborne regiment that was over there. It was first given, I was in the Gulf War in 1990-91, and it was given to us before we went over. It's never been recorded anywhere, because the people that came over after us from Canada, they have a listing of who has taken it. Those of us that left from Germany, the first wave of people that went over there, that came from Germany, for the ground forces, we were in Canada Dry 1 and 2 in Qatar supporting the Air Force. It was given to us through the Americans, so there was no records kept of any of it. And nowhere in any of my records is this. And I'd heard about this briefly when I was posted back to Petawawa after Germany and everything that had happened with Somalia. And it twigged something in my mind, but I'd never really realized what was going on. I kept having these medical problems. The doctors, of course, just fluffed it off as something else and tried different treatments. Oh, you've got indigestion, so take this, or oh, you need some fiber in your diet and whatnot, not knowing what this would cause. Since I heard of this, I was in the hospital 3 years ago, actually at this time, and I was. My wife had brought me a laptop, and I was on one of the veterans pages, and I saw this post from Dave Bona, who had been talking about it. And I read his post, and it intrigued me, because I remember hearing about Mefloquine, and I started looking more into it, because I had lots of time laying in the hospital. And the more I started to read, the more the puzzle pieces clicked into place of the things that were happening to me. And when I finally got home, I actually called Dave Bona, and we talked for about an hour on the phone, and he showed me some places to go and do some more research. and look at all the different symptoms and everything that was happening. And I realized what had been going on, and the puzzle started to take form as to what was happening to me. And it was then that I started to reach out to different veterans organizations and got in with the Mefloquine Rally. I heard about it, and I sent a message to Marge and told her what was going on. And she invited me to come down. And I said, okay, I can bring flags on hockey sticks. And she thought that was a fantastic idea. And those are the same flags that I brought today that we're carrying. And that's kind of, but at that rally and the meeting before with Dr. Nevin, who was discussing stuff, I happened to meet Stephen Beardwood and his brother, who were just starting to get together with Veterans House Charity and start put that together. And that kind of piqued my interest in what was going on, and I ended up being in the same hotel as him and his brother was, and spent the evening talking to him and his brother about what was going on. We went out for breakfast the next morning, and we were talking. We were talking about all the different effects and the treatments and everything else like that. So that led me into what has happened here, because without finding out about this and whatnot and talking to Stephen Beardwood, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't know what was happening with me. Now, convincing my doctors what is happening, that's another story, and most of them are ignorant or don't want to learn about what's going on. I've encountered that as well. But all it is like Marge has been saying, and Dr. Nevin and all the rest of the professionals, is keep fighting, because we will break through, we will get treatment, it will be recognized, and we will get the treatment to help us overcome what has been done to us, and we can hopefully carry on with a little bit more normality in our lives. Is there anybody else that would like to come up and give a short little talk about them or their what they've been going through with Mefloquine? Does anybody at all want to come up and give a little spiel? Oh.
Guys,
We have a whole group. Awesome. So I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
We're the Free Riders with No Borders, and we support our veterans 100% of Canada and the U.S. And we're here today to tell Canada that they need to step up and start helping our veterans. Our veterans need our help, and we can't do it alone, but we're doing it one day at a time. Canada, step up.
Okay, everybody take the clothes off. We're going to have a group photo.
Actually, everyone on the steps.